Spearfishing is not just a sport. I don't like to refer to it as a sport. To me, it's a way of life. I use it to catch food, but I also use spearfishing to nourish my soul. It energizes me, it provides me with health and fitness. It's very calming. I don't have to catch fish. Catching fish is a bonus. I just love being in the ocean. And spearfishing is a natural progression of that. Once you're in the ocean, you just don't want to get out. Part of the excitement of spearfishing is you can have a lifelong ambition about chasing a huge kingfish, a kingfish of a life. But when it comes to the moment, you've got 2 seconds to make a decision. That is, do you take the shot now? Which fish do I shoot at? Do I do it or do I wait? Is there going to be another one? Or was that the biggest one of my life? You've got seconds to make that decision. As a kid, it was actually spearfishing that kept me out of trouble. I grew up in a pretty rough part of Sydney. I grew up in Housing Commission in Macquarie Fields, and there wasn't a lot to do in that area. A lot of kids used to get up into trouble, mischief, steal stuff, break into people's houses, steal cars. I didn't have time to do that because I spent most weekends with my family, spearfishing, catching dinner. When I was younger, both my mum and dad speared. They grew up in the St George Spearfishing Club. Mum was a pretty keen spearo as well. She was actually champion in the St George Spearfishing Club. We'd go spearfishing nearly every weekend, so pretty well every weekend we went out in the boat, we were always diving. Everyone always asks me, why do you go to New Zealand when we've got kingfish in Sydney? The main reason is it's the structure. And there are islands and reefs that pop up out of nowhere all over the place. Reef holds baitfish and baitfish hold kingfish. New Zealand's a pretty special place, and White Island's even special in New Zealand because it just holds these huge kingfish. And also, it's just that volcano, the way it comes up at 1,200 metres of water, and it's like this lone beacon out there, and it's like the smoke rising from it. It's like it's calling you, saying, come back in millennia and see how the planet used to be. It's just, I don't know, it's really hard to describe until you've been there. You know, you drive around White Island, the water right next to your boat is just spraying alive with fish, kingfish chasing bait fish. Sometimes you see whales, sometimes you see sharks around you. There's dolphins there, it's just spectacular. I remember one day actually spearing in a competition with my cousin. I just had this feeling I was going to get a kingfish. All day I kept saying, I'm going to get a kingfish. And everyone's going, you're crazy. Here we were in the end of a competition, and all of a sudden, I just noticed the light just change, and there was just kingfish all around me. And I see this big kingfish, and I just aimed up and I fired, and the thing just rolled. So then all of a sudden, my fish starts coming back to life, and it slowly got faster and faster and faster, and all of a sudden it just goes kick, and it just kicks off. It's gone. That one really hurt. As I think back on that now, I reckon it was about a 20-kilo fish, and for Sydney, that was a cracker fish, and I didn't land it. So that was the beginning of my obsession. I have shot one fish that I believe would have been very close, or if not exceeded 40 kilos. And why I come up with this figure is there were fish taken from that school that went 20 kilos by the other guys, and they looked about half the size of the one that I shot. I had on for a good 5 or 6 minutes, and through a combination of bad luck and exhaustion, it just got off. It just got into the reef, it wrapped itself up in that kelp, and it twisted and thrashed itself until it tore the spear out of it. Every year I watch that footage, I'm like, man, look at all the things I did wrong. But in the moment, you got seconds to make a decision. Depending on what you do, the fish does something as well. And I watch that footage over and over again, and I still dream about it, and I still wake up some nights going, damn, that fish got away. But it's what makes me keep going back. When we get to Whakatane, it's pretty exciting because as we're driving down the highway from Tauranga to Whakatane, you get your first glimpse out in the horizon of White Island. We've just travelled, all the way from Sydney, nearly a whole day to get there, and we can finally see it. So we just get on board the boat, we unpack our gear, We start prepping everything for the next morning, and yeah, we go to bed as early as we can because we're up first thing in the morning and we're steaming out the bar of Whakatane heading to White Island.
So scared pretty well.
He's your mate. No, he's not.
I get asked a lot about spearing kingfish and what do you do and how do you do it. It's knowledge that we've acquired over the years, that we know where fish are, particularly along certain parts. There's usually structure, but you've got to set yourself up in a way that you position yourself for when the fish are coming in or cruising past or feeding, and then you can ambush those fish. If you swim straight down to the kingfish, you've got bucklies of getting it. He'll just go, no, sorry, I'm out of here. So we've got the flasher deployed. The flasher's set at about 10 metres of depth. What the flasher is, it's just basically a plastic mirror with like a squid lure on it, and it bounces up and down with the movement. And the reflective mirror looks a bit like an injured fish or small bait fish in the water, and they're curious and they come and have a look. So what we do is we dive down and we just hang and we look and we wait. Sometimes we could be down there for 30 seconds, up to about a minute. So when we're down there at the flasher, all of a sudden the kingfish comes in and I've got to decide, are we shooting this fish? Because we only take one kingfish a day. You might only see them for 3 or 4 seconds before they're out of range. So you have to make a decision very quickly, which fish you're going to target and where you're going to shoot that fish, because shot placement is crucial when it comes to kingfish. I reach out, I fire the gun, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. The first thing I really try to do is get straight to the surface. I'm holding tension on my spear gun. I don't want to let my gun go if possible. My float's on the surface, and at the front of my float I've got a really big shark clip. I get that shark clip and clip it onto my rig cord as close as I can to the fish, because all of a sudden if that fish comes to life, or if it already has come to life, it's going straight to the bottom. Now that shark clip, which is attached to my float, is the mechanism that I use to start to retrieve my rig cord up to the surface. I grab the shark clip and I depress the shark clip and open it a little bit, and I slide, pulling up towards me my rig cord. I might only gain a couple of inches, and I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again, slowly bringing that fish to the surface. The whole time that fish is fighting and hopefully exhausting itself, and hopefully it dies before it gets to the surface. But these fish are so incredibly tough that unless you've killed it with the shot instantly, they generally don't die. So they will fight until the absolute end. If anyone's caught a kingfish on rod and reel, especially a 20-kilo kingfish, they know what it's like. They nearly pull you out the boat. So imagine being in the water with one, getting towed around, and you're trying to pull that fish to the surface, and that fish is doing everything it can to pull you to the bottom.